housing, new home sales, and then I also want to get into where people are moving across the country. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's rock.
Meantime, Santelli's been busy this morning, and now we got some new homes. Let's get back to him. Hey, Rick.
Yes, Carl, indeed. And all of these numbers are coming in a little different than expectations. Our April read on new home sales expected to be around 680,000 seasonally adjusted annualized units, comes in at 634,000. That's the weakest level since November, so obviously the weakest since the year began. And if you look at pre-COVID, last month was originally released at 693,000, which is almost identical to February 2020. We retook that area, even though it's much lighter than the '08 area, but that was revised now down to 665,000. So this is a double whammy number. Not only is it weaker than expected, the revision is bigger than expected in the wrong direction. And to dig down even further in these new home sales numbers and why they're impacted by high price housing and high interest rates, we turn to Diana Olick. Diana?
Rick, it's all about prices and mortgage rates and affordability, not brain surgery here. Prices up 4% year over year in April to $433,500 for a new home. And
is that the average? $433,000 for a new home? Sheesh. That's crazy. How much money do you have to make in order to 433? Let's just say 435. How much? Let's just round it off to 500,000 because that's where we're going. What income do I need to be able to afford a $500,000 house? A lot of people go based off of the 20% down payment, 30-year mortgage, 28% rule, which is basically assuming that you'll spend about a third of your income on housing. I can't swing it. A third of your income is supposed to be spent on housing. No, I can't justify that. No way. How much do you need to buy a $500,000 house? Assuming you'll spend about a third of your total income on housing, 28%. 30-year mortgage loan at an interest rate of 6.5%, which is really 7%. Let's just assume 6.5. Monthly principal and interest payment will come to $2,500. Multiply that by 12 for an annual income to an annual amount of $30,000. Wait a minute, what? So basically, you need to be making at least $91,000, which you probably need to be making up more because it's not even taking into account you getting taxed. You need to be making almost $100,000 a year to afford a $500,000 house, and you'll have a $2,500 monthly payment. This does not include property taxes, home insurance premiums, HOA fees, maintenance. Hecky no. No way, no how. Never been comfortable with living like that, living life on the edge. That's what I call living life on the edge personally.
take a look at where mortgage rates went in April, because these are signed contracts. That's what the numbers are based on. So people out shopping in April when mortgage rates started in the right around 7%, shot up to 7.5%. Now, we talk a lot about the big buildings.
Now, remember, let's remember this, y'all. When we say these prices and these payments, I'm 42 years old. So let's say, for example, I go out and then you add in property taxes and insurance. So let's say you're spending over $3,000 a month, right? And you a regular person with a regular income, you're spending over $300,000 a month for a 30-year mortgage, not including maintenance and all of this stuff, right? I'm paying that for 360 months, 30 years, 360 months of payments. That means that by the time I'm 72, if I just make all of my payments on time, I'll have no problems, no trouble. And by the time I'm 72 years old, then I will finally maybe have my house paid off and I still got to pay the property taxes and maintenance for it. That's insane to me. I just can't justify it. That makes no sense. That's why we come up with alternative methods inside of the bag chasers.
Down mortgage rates in order to get buyers in the door. They had been pulling back on that, according to a lot of CEOs from earnings reports. We heard from D.R. Horton, which did very well in its last quarter, but did note in the home builder sentiment report that they're starting to bring back more incentives again, because when rates get up to 7.5%, it just becomes unaffordable. One more note on this, 9.1 month supply, up from an 8.3 month supply in March. So builders are getting more and more supply, which could be concerning. It would make it think that they would bring prices down. But again, if they're buying down the mortgage rates, that would help. But those buy downs do hit big builder margins, and we have been seeing that a little bit in the last couple of quarters. But I will say again, on prices, up 4%. We've asked when builders will start to lower prices. Some have a little bit, but really they say they can't because of high costs of land, labor, materials, and also new rules regarding sustainability and building homes that adhere to new rules that were from 2019 about keeping those homes in those environments.
You spent 30 years grinding trying to get it. As soon as you die, the kid's going to sell it and go and show that Bentley. They're going to spend it on their little boyfriends.
Environmental standards.
Forget all of that, bro.
So they're talking about much more costs for the builders, and that makes it more difficult for them to lower the prices. But again,
let me spin over real quick and see where everybody is moving once they sell these homes, even though home sales is at a historic low. This is talking about a CNBC report where they basically saying that people are relocating based off of where their political views match.
On the road outside Boise,
it's the second largest city in Idaho.
A tour from two transplants.
Do you regret your decision at all to move from Seattle?
Not one iota.
Jason and Kelly Krafsky moved to Idaho from Washington State 2.5 years ago.
It's a nice house.
Elephant in the room is that for political reasons. I mean, we're more red than blue, especially during the lockdown, was just...
Well, that's when it really kind of hit us.
It got really egregious.
The people are great here.
Is he using my word? So much,
they moved.
Don't use my word egregious. That's Anton from AntonDaniels.com word. Don't use egregious. We putting a cap on that inside of the dictionary.
Their careers here, too. They're both realtors on a mission.
We just decided that was going to be our new business model, which is, help people transplant from Washington or California or Oregon here to the Boise area. Because we did it and we know how hard it is.
How's that business been?
Very, very good. You can canoe.
Some clients coming to them through a group called Conservative Move, which provides resources to help people relocate somewhere redder. Idaho's one of the fastest growing states in the country, behind only Florida last year. And part of the draw for some, not just the panoramas, but the politics. More places now are either way more red or way more blue than they used to be, according to presidential election data. Back in 2004, fewer than 200 counties voted in big blowouts, a landslide one way or the other. But in 2020, that number tripled to nearly 700. Including some counties in Texas. That's states where Kirby Wilbur calls himself a refugee resettlement specialist.
We're conservative, and I think if you're moving and going through this trauma, it helps to have someone who understands you and agrees with you and is able to...
Everything is trauma now. They're saying relocating to a completely different space is now trauma. Let me say that again for the people in the back. Relocating to a different place based off of your political views or existing in a space where you think differently than the people that are around you and you need to get out, that's going through trauma. Oh, man.
Help you because they've been through the same process.
People like Emma and Matthew Carruthers, who considered Tennessee, too, before settling just outside Dallas.
Kirby knew what we were looking for, and not just because he knows us, but he knows kind of the environment that we're looking for.
At the end of the day, we did it for our kids. For a better life for them.
It works both ways, with some agents aiming to help more liberal homeowners leave conservative states. For Wilbur, it's simple. People who know what they like should like where they live.
Texas isn't perfect, but if I may paraphrase Ronald Reagan, it's not heaven, but it's in the same zip code.
So that group, Conservative Move, says in the last couple of years, South Carolina has joined Texas and Florida as some of the biggest states where they're seeing clients buying homes.
Would you guys actually leave and move to a state based off of your political leanings or what your views are? For me personally, nah, never. I'm not moving to a state based off of my political views. And one of the reasons that is, well, unless I lived in New York, Illinois, or California, that goes without saying. But one of the reasons that is because I think that there's always surrounding areas and counties. Well, let me back up. I would consider it. I would definitely consider it. Michigan is a swing state, so it's a little bit different for me here, but I would definitely consider it. And the only reason I'm kind of retracting and I'm thinking differently about what my answer is because during the pandemic, I 100%, that was it. Similar to what he was just saying. The pandemic was the linchpin for me. And we were stuck in Michigan, and I'm never going to forget it. I know they want to act like it didn't happen. Everybody is moving on with their lives like everything is just cool, but I'm not going to forget it. Big Gretch went along party lines, and they were shutting down Michigan, and they was arresting business owners trying to keep their businesses open in order for them to be able to survive. And we just got tired of it. We got sick of it. And so I did some research, and I realized that they was open down there in Florida. Miami was popping. And I was like, skip it. We getting up out of here. So we packed up, and I realized that I needed a car down there. And so I took a car down there, and then I flew my wife and daughter down. And Leslie was going to school online, and we was swimming. We was having fun. We was going out and doing stuff. It was cold back home because we moved here. I think we went down here at the end of November. I came down at the end of November. We stayed. We bought 2 really nice hotel rooms for like the next week or two, and then we went Airbnb'd and we did monthly Airbnbs, and we basically got some of the greatest places. We stayed in Midtown. That's how I fell in love with Midtown and the design district over in Miami. And so we stayed over in the design district in Midtown. We learned about the culture. We started embracing the people. I was there for like 3-4 months, 3.5 months. And we had a really good time. And so, yeah, I kind of am changing my perspective because I think that moving somewhere based off of your political leanings often align with how the state is operating or how that specific city is operating. But, you know, my home is here, Michigan, Detroit, and so I still stayed here, even though I lean more conservative. And Michigan is a swing state, but the city itself tend to be a little bit more blue. But I'm loving the transition that we got going on here. So it's pretty interesting. It's an interesting dynamic, I think.